Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for listening and welcome back to another episode of the Business Owners Freedom Formula Show, where we chat with inspiring entrepreneurs and dig into their highs, lows, and everything in between of their business building journey and learn about how they've been able to achieve their ultimate freedom. In today's episode number 27, we have another great guest and we are going to get rocking. We have Tyler Basu, who is the content manager for Thinkific, the all-in-one platform for creating and selling online courses. He is also a podcast host and the publisher of Lifestyle Business Magazine and the author of Lifestyle Business Blueprint. And he's a contributor to several online publications, including Entrepreneur, Influencive, and Addicted to Success. So that is Tyler Basu. Welcome, Tyler. Thanks so much for being here. How's it going?
I'm doing good, Paul. Thanks for having me, and thanks for covering the highlights there.
Yeah, well done. Really, I mean, obviously you've done a lot of stuff in a short amount of time, and you are coming to us live from Vancouver. So what's going on in Vancouver today?
The summer is finally arriving. We get a lot of rain throughout the winter time, a good 6 months of rain usually. We had some snow actually too, which doesn't often happen, but I'm excited to get some vitamin D on my pale skin, as you can see, and just enjoy the outdoors a little bit.
Awesome. Well, I've heard nothing but good things from the Vancouver world. So sometime in the summer, I'll have to make my way there from all the way Raleigh, North Carolina. It is quite of a trek across North America. So
it's a beautiful place.
That's what I hear. So thank you so much, like I said, for spending some time with us today. Really want to dig into your journey because I think your journey can really inspire a lot of people because you've done a lot, like I said, in a short amount of time, and you've done a little bit of everything. So give our listeners kind of rewind back and dig into your journey to get you where you are today.
Yeah, no problem. So I'm still a pretty young guy. I'm 27 now. I'm married. I'm a parent. I've got, my son's a year and a half. And the last 10 years really has been a lot of trial and error, a lot of working in lots of different industries. I wasn't one of those kids who knew exactly what they wanted to be coming out of school. So I just jumped into the workforce, did everything from door-to-door sales to retail, trading currencies, promoting seminars, renovations, like selling real estate for a couple of years. I did a bunch of stuff just to figure out like what I wanted to do, what kind of career I wanted. So I bounced around quite a bit. During that time, and from the age of about 23 to 25, when I was working as a realtor, I started doing some stuff online. I started blogging. I started interviewing people. Started doing a podcast. Started writing ebooks. Just creating content, like interviewing people and sharing what I was learning in various types of content online. And I kept that going, just kind of as a hobby, just for fun. Wasn't really sure where it would take me, but I kept it going for a few years. And just from building that personal brand through content and building connections from doing the interviews and going to conferences and things like that, some more opportunities came to me. And so how I ended up at Thinkific actually is the co-founder and CEO here, Greg Smith. He was actually a guest on my podcast a couple of years back, and we kept in touch after I interviewed him. Thinkific was, a small team at the time. It's a big team now. We've got like over 60 people and counting, and it's growing really fast here. But when I interviewed Greg, there was half a dozen people at the company, and they were just starting to really get traction. And then it was in 2016, beginning of 2016, that Greg reached out. He was looking for some help with the company's content strategy. I had been doing podcasting and blogging and ebooks and a digital magazine and that kind of stuff at that point. Online courses as well. I made my first online course shortly before that. And I said, yeah, I'd love to help you out. So I started coming in, writing content for their blog. That worked out well. So they asked me to join the company full time and just take over the content strategy. And so now we've really scaled things up. We've put out articles, we've put out interviews, we've put out, webinars, courses, all kinds of stuff to help bring in more customers for Thinkific. And it's been fortunately it's worked out. So, I'm here creating more content. I got a team of people that helps me now with that, and just really scaling that up. But it's been a lot of fun, and I'm happy to dig into any part of that journey more if you'd like.
Wow. Well, that is pretty impressive. I mean, just starting with that, I mean, if you want to hit on, I mean, you started a podcast probably with no intention of, I mean, obviously you want to connect, and I think it was called, your original one was like Chatting with Champions. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then now you're doing the lifestyle business magazine. But I think really just the power of connecting with other people that are in similar niches. You probably had no intention of, hey, one day I want to work with Thinkific and be their content manager. So for anybody out there that thinks they're just going to sit there and put their head down and do their job, what would you tell them of the power of really just networking with, like-minded individuals?
Yeah. You know what? No matter what industry you're in, there's so much power in building relationships with other people in your industry and even outside of your industry as well, because there are best practices in other companies and other industries that have certain principles behind them that you can bring over to what you're doing. So the more you can get around people who are doing well, who are ahead of you, or doing what you want to do, or just have proven track records, the more you can connect with them, learn from them, talk to them, build relationships with them, the more you can, selfishly benefit by applying some of the stuff that you learn from these people and apply it into whatever your role is or whatever your business is. So for me, like, starting a podcast and interviewing people was like almost like a shortcut, or a cheat code to learning from so many successful people for free, like from all over the world. I added up. I recently tried to actually quantify the value of doing all those interviews, and I went back and looked at all those people that were a guest that were a guest on my podcast and that I continue to speak with. What do these people charge for consulting? Like, if I wanted to pick somebody's brain for a half hour or an hour, what would that actually cost me?
A lot.
And then I've done close to 200 interviews now. So if you add up what all those people would actually charge for advice one-on-one, I've received hundreds of thousands of dollars in free consulting or free advice from all these people. But it's because I took the step up front to create some kind of a platform, whether you use a blog or a podcast or a YouTube channel, whatever you do. But if you have some sort of a platform that when you're reaching out to people, they know they're not just talking to you, they're talking to you and everyone else that you're going to share that interaction with. So it's a win-win for both of you.
Totally agree. And I think, even if you aren't hosting your own podcast, the power of just listening to podcasts, I mean, you can gain so much knowledge. And my other takeaway there is you can't be afraid of failure. I mean, you've reached out to some really significant people. I know you've interviewed Grant Cardone a few times, who definitely, protects his time and really values the dollar amount that's tied to people's time. And for him to come onto your show, even several years ago, just the fact that you reached out to him, I'm sure you reached out to plenty of people and not everybody said yes. You might have got some no's, you might have got a lot of people ignoring you. But even just for the listeners out there that are going to grab business, we've interviewed in the past Andrea, and she was talking about go for no, the power of going for no, and you can't be afraid of failing to begin with. So kudos to you on that. For everybody else out there, really will take some things away from there.
Yeah,
and
thanks. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and you really talked about the power of content as well. So no matter what type of business people are in, whether they're a local small business or they're an online business, obviously you found a lot of value in that. You were just doing it as a hobby when you were still working as a realtor. What are some ways that local businesses, small businesses, online businesses can leverage content to, really grow their brand and grow their business?
Yeah, well, the great thing about content is it helps reverse the sales cycle. So even if you're a local business and you're trying to get new customers, maybe you're running ads or you're cold calling and you're actually going and knocking on doors or something to try to get customers, and you're trying to convince people why what you have to offer can help them. And so immediately they've got their guard up, right? Because nobody likes being sold, nobody likes being pitched. And so if you're, out there trying to convince other people why they should work with you, it's tough. You're going to have to go through a lot of people to get some customers. Whereas if they found you and if they seeked you out and they came to you already already liking you, already trusting you, and already believing that you could help them, then the conversation's very different. It's just a matter of like figuring out if it's a fit. Like, do you actually want to work with that person? Can they afford your pricing? It's that kind of a conversation. So content does that, because if you're putting out, and not just any kind of content, there's got to be some strategy behind it. But if you're putting out information on the internet that actually helps the person that you want to help, your target audience, and then you're optimizing that content, whether it's an article on your blog, whether it's a video you put on YouTube, but you're making sure that you're touching on a topic that person's searching for. So when they're going to Google, or when they're looking for information that can help them, they find your stuff. And then by finding your stuff and being helped by your stuff, now they know you, they like you, they trust you. The content did that for you. And then when they reach out to you, it's because they're ready. Like they're ready to work with you. They want to go to the next step. So content helps reverse that sales process. And I've seen this work in every industry, not just with specifically online businesses, but you can use content to drive people to an offline or a brick and mortar business as well. It's the process is the same.
Awesome. And I know I talk to a lot of people who are afraid to put out their content because they don't want to they feel like, well, why would I give that away for free when I'm trying to charge them for something? So, for instance, if you're a landscaper, why would I put up a blog post on the best ways to treat your lawn when I want them to hire me to treat their lawn? I see it over and over again. People that give away all the value, they have the most success, but yet there's so many people that are afraid to give away that value for free. What would you tell those people?
So I would recommend, and this is a really good point, and I see this concern brought up a lot. I speak to a lot of course creators on a daily basis now, and they have the exact same concern. Why would somebody buy my online course if I give away the same information for free in blogs or videos or whatever? And the answer is that people don't buy information alone anymore. They're not because there's so much of it available for free. So if somebody wants information and that's all they want, they can get it. They can go to blogs, they can get, inexpensive ebooks from Amazon, they can go to YouTube. But if they want help, or if they want feedback, or if they want accountability, or if they want it done for them, now they need more than just the information. So giving them the information up front that actually helps them, it makes them think, oh, wow, if this is what I get for free from this person, what would it be like if I actually paid them? Like, what would that look like? If I'm getting so much value for free, how much value would I get if I actually pay this person? And that's the kind of impression you want your content to have on people. You want it to impress them to the point where if that's the kind of value you give to them for free, then that raises the perception of the value of the things that you charge for. And again, if your information helps them make a better choice, like if you're a landscaping company and you've got information about landscaping, it helps them be better at managing the expectations of when they hire a landscaper. Like if they know a little bit about landscaping, right? They still might not want to do it themselves, but at least now they're informed. So when they work with you, or maybe you help them by telling them, like, what's the different criteria you should ask a landscaper? Like, here's 10 questions you should ask a landscaper before you hire them. So you give them those 10 questions up front. Now they're more educated as a customer. And again, if they don't want to do the landscaping themselves, they still need somebody to do it for them. You're the person who helped them. You gave them some education up front for free, and so now they're more likely to hire you for your services.
Excellent. That is definitely helpful insight for everybody out there, including myself. Just like you said, when you interview people on your podcast, you're always taking away things. I definitely take those pieces away as well. So one of the questions I had to hit on, because you are an entrepreneur, you like doing your own thing. How were you able to go back to working for somebody else? Like, what were some of the big selling points? Because I think a lot of people have it in their mind. And one of them comes to mind is Gary Vaynerchuk, who says, a lot of times you'd be better off being number 2, 3, 4, or even number 400 at Facebook instead of just going out and doing your own thing. So what were some of the selling points for you to go back to working for somebody else when you've been used to kind of doing your own thing?
Yeah. So, this is my first time having like a pretty normal employment situation. I've always been on commission, self-employed, or sales type roles. And the big selling point for me was I would have much rather, like when I started working with Greg here at Thinkific, there was 12 people on the team. And the previous 3-4 years before that, growth at Thinkific was very, very, very slow, or not a huge amount of growth, consistent growth every month, but nothing exponential. When I came in, it was right before that exponential growth was about to happen. And so now, like I said, and I've been here just a little over a year, and we've gone from, I was person number 12 or 13, I think, to now approaching 70. And it'll be probably 80 or 90 by the end of 2017, and it'll keep growing from there. So the main reason why I decided to align myself with this company is because I'm learning more by being a part of a fast-growing tech company from its early stages than I could have possibly learned doing something on my own. So I would rather be, I would rather be here to experience this growth and learn what it takes to grow this fast, and all the challenges that happen with going from a small team to a big team really quickly, and have somebody else pay me while I'm learning. So, and then, if a few years down the road, I go back to doing my own thing full time, I think I'll be a better entrepreneur because of being an employee here for however long I'm here for, if that makes sense. And I still keep my stuff going. Like I'm still podcasting. I'm still writing for other sites. I have my online course that I'm selling regularly. I still speak at events to help, promote my courses and my stuff. So it's not like I've completely turned those things off. I've just turned them into more of a side hustle for now, so that I can spend the majority of my time focused here, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. And what I really like that you focus on is more the long-term game of, I want to go here because I'm learning from somebody who is at a point where I want to be someday. And I think a lot of people get short-sighted, and they don't see that long-term vision of, hey, I'm only, even if you're 50, 60 years old, to align yourself with somebody for a couple of years to learn from them, and then take that and, kind of reinvent it and make it your own and go do your own thing. I think that's awesome, because you see that there's more to it than I'm just going in and, collecting a paycheck and it's a job that I don't want to do.
Yeah, like I'm adding more tools, more skills, more connections, to my toolbox, while I'm here. And so,
and that's a great way to look at it. So keep adding tools to your toolbox, listeners out there. And we talk about a lot on the show, but aligning yourself with people who have achieved the success, throw your ego out and go learn from the best, because that's going to allow you the time. It's going to speed up the time to get you where you want to go as well. Which obviously you've done in the past by hosting your podcast, learning from these people, implementing, and then continuing to learn. So I think that's a really good segue into the whole idea of creating online courses in general. A lot of times my clients ask me, obviously I work with them to help them put systems and processes and people in place so their business can run on autopilot, no matter what type of business it is. And they ask, well, what happens once I do that and I don't have to work? Well, once my business is automated, how can they, I encourage them to then go teach other people how to do this. How can they leverage online courses, no matter what industry they're in?
So we've got, I've seen the data from thousands of customers at this point. And there's a couple of different types of companies that create courses, or they create them for different reasons. Now, some people, guys like me and you, we're running, we're building our own businesses, and our goal is generally to create revenue with our courses. And so there's a lot of entrepreneurs that are doing that, authors, speakers, coaches, consultants, that are tired of trading time for money, or they've at least realized that there's a limit to how many people they can work with one-on-one. And so they make the shift into creating digital products or information products, because those can be sold to many more people at scale. And once the systems are in place, that can be very much automated, so that they're not trading more time to bring in more revenue for their business. So that's kind of one segment of people who create courses. The other is existing companies, bigger companies, like Hootsuite, for example, the social media marketing company. They create courses not so much to bring in revenue, but to train their customers on how to use their software, or even to attract new customers by offering free training that's related to social media. So you don't always have to sell a course for it to fit into your business model. If you see online training and online courses as a viable way to bring in more revenue for your business, then absolutely you can do it. But another reason that you can create courses, if you give them away for free, is to help attract customers, help train your customers, help them learn your product more, help them be more successful, and help retain them for longer. And then you monetize them in other ways, by selling a different product or service to them other than the course itself. So those are kind of the two broad reasons why, as an entrepreneur or as a company, you would hop into the space to create online courses. And as you said, it's a great way to to share what you know. If you spent years learning a craft and you now want to pass on what you know to somebody else, doing it in an online course is a great way to do that, because now you can share what you've learned with people all over the world, and there's no limit to how many people you can share your knowledge with. The only limit would be how many people are actually interested in that topic, and that's something we can talk about if you like, how to actually validate the demand for your topic before you spend all this time and energy creating a course, if you like.
Yeah, no, that would be great. And I think we could just use that same example of, we have that landscaper who's now writing a blog to help potential customers. So if I'm a landscaper and I've more or less got my business on autopilot, I got my leaders in place, and they're out day to day, servicing customers and clients and houses and commercial accounts, all that. How could they validate their idea of, I want to teach other landscapers how to do this, so that they're working on their business and not working in their business?
Yeah. So that's a really good example. I like that example because it's outside of the online marketing space. Like this is a business model a lot more people can relate to, especially offline business owners. So if you're a landscaper, or you've been running a successful landscaping company for several years, and you know that there are other people who don't know how to do what you do, and that you want to share what you know with them and monetize that in some way. So, but to validate that, what I would recommend doing is, before you go and spend several weeks or months and thousands of dollars creating an online course or a membership site, or however you're going to do it, and then you find out that maybe you didn't actually include what somebody wanted, or you didn't price it the right way, or you didn't deliver the training the right way, or whatever, and then you get frustrated because you spent so much time and money and it wasn't a hit. I would actually have some conversations with other landscapers, other people getting into the business. If you're trying to sell your franchise, for example, talk to franchisees, talk to potential franchisees, and figure out up front what steps or what content they'd actually want to see in a course, and how would they want it to be delivered. Would they want to see you doing a PowerPoint slide? Would they want to see live videos? Somebody following you around as you're actually on the job, that kind of thing. You want to figure out up front how they want that information to be delivered to them, and what topics would be most important to them. And you got to break it up into sequential steps. So if you take somebody going from brand new landscape business to very successful, scalable business with several trucks and a big team, what are the steps that they need to go through to get from A to B? And then every one of those steps can become a chapter or a module in your course. But if you're not talking to anyone up front, if you're not talking to the people that you plan on selling your course to up front, and validating that you're actually giving them what they want, then if you lock yourself in a basement and spend months creating it, and then you come out and realize nobody wants it that way, then it's just not going to be a very fun experience for you, I don't think.
Great insight there, and probably easier than I think a lot of people they wait until they they want to make it perfect. So they're basically getting ready to get ready, more or less, and they want to create it all and have it all bright and shiny, and then go sell it.
Yeah.
And then they hear crickets. I think that's really one of the beautiful things about something done online, done virtually, is it's not like, hey, then I got to go build a building and it's going to take 2 or 3 years to get it to market.
Yeah.
It's online, and once you get your information and what you really need to deliver, then you can go do it and deliver it, like you said, even one module at a time. They sign up, hey, here's week 1, and then once they're working on week 1, you can go create week 2.
Absolutely. And I think the goal, especially if you're making your first course, should be to create a minimum viable course. Don't set out to create this monster of a product before you've really gotten some feedback and some validation from your target audience along the way. Set out to create the minimum viable course. And then as you get feedback, as you get testimonials, as people actually take the course and tell you what they think, and you can see their progress, you can see the completion rates, you can see where people are dropping off on certain lessons, then you go back and you make changes to the training, or you add to it, or you expand on it. And you can do that over time. And as you do that, as your course gets better, you could also increase the price too, because now you're adding more value to the course, so that justifies a higher price. But in the beginning, I would pre-sell an inexpensive minimum viable course and then improve upon it after that.
Definitely agree with that. And in one of our previous episodes, we talked to Tom Schwab, who I love this quote. I never heard it until he told me, and now I use it everywhere. But he basically said, "What's ordinary to you is amazing to others." And I think in the online course world, in the podcasting world, in general, that really rings true, because I think a lot of our listeners, people in general, they don't think they have any unique skills. Well, it's like, oh, I run a landscaping business and it's successful, but who the heck would pay me for that? So what would you tell those people who, think that they are just, Joe Schmo, even though they might not be?
Yeah, this is another misconception I come across a lot. And people are wondering, who am I to share what I know? I'm not an expert yet, kind of thing. But in order for anyone to actually pay you for your knowledge, you just need to be a step ahead of them. You don't need to be 10 steps, 20 steps ahead of them. You don't need to have a PhD in landscaping, if that's even possible to get. I don't know. You just need to know how to get the result that they want to get. And so, a mistake I see a lot of people make is they try to dump everything that they know to try to compensate for that feeling like, oh, maybe they're not expert enough or they don't know enough. So they're just going to dump everything, and hopefully that impresses people. But usually the reverse happens, and that actually overwhelms them. If I'm trying to learn, let's say, how to prune a tree, I don't know, right? I don't want you to tell me every single thing about every type of tree and every single option and all this. Like, I don't want you to overwhelm me with everything that you know. I want the simplest, most effective step that I can take right now and implement right away without getting overwhelmed. Like, just give me something I can actually take action on. So that's what you got to do with your course. Like, your course should be a shortcut for somebody. It shouldn't overwhelm them. You shouldn't give them extra information that they don't need. Give them exactly what they need to know to get the result that was promised. And as long as you know how to get the result that somebody else is willing to pay to learn how to get, then I do think that you are expert enough to teach that person. Like, somebody in grade 4 can help somebody in grade 3. They're just one grade ahead, but that's enough. They've been through grade 3, so they know what grade 3 is like.
Well said. And I think that's a really good kind of analogy that, you don't have to be miles ahead. You don't need to have that PhD to help someone in 3rd grade. You just have to be further along than them, which to you seems well below baseline, but to other people, to them, to get to grade 4 is, climbing a mountain. So
right.
For anybody out there that has an expertise, you're doing something successful, I really encourage, take more look at it. We'll definitely link up everything, and we'll get more information from Tyler further along in the show about where to go to learn how to kind of get your courses created. But I want to kind of dig into, what is your normal day like now? Because I know you got, you're married, you got a kid, you got your side hustles, you got a full-time job. Yeah. How do you manage all that? Obviously, we're all about freedom, and what your ideal view of freedom is. And, everybody's ideal view of freedom is totally different. So how do you balance all that? How do you keep everything in line while keeping, obviously yourself and everybody else around you happy?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Definitely a work in progress. I used to have this perfect morning routine and all this stuff. And then when my son was born, that was my routine was out the window, and now it became, revolving around what he needed. But it's gotten better. He's a bit older now. He sleeps through the night, so definitely got more balance. I don't have, every day is a little different, but throughout the course of a week, I tend to do a lot of the same things. I spend a lot of time researching topics that we want to cover in our content, creating that content or assigning somebody else to create it. promoting the stuff that we produce, interviewing people, being interviewed like this, webinars, things like that. So throughout the week, I'm doing a lot of the same activities. And what's helped me become really, I guess, efficient is there's a tool that I use that I don't think I could live without anymore, called Asana. Mm-hmm. And we use the combination of Asana and Slack. So Slack we use for communication within the team. So we can skip the inbox and we're not hitting each other's inboxes to send a message. We do it all on Slack. And then Asana for managing all projects, all the content calendar, all that kind of stuff. Because we have specific processes for every single task. So if it comes to creating a blog post, for example, I've got checklists, templates in Asana for the steps that we take to validate a blog post, validate the topic before we create it, the steps we take as we're creating it, the steps to publish it, the steps to promote it. And that's a system, right? And so every time, we're putting blog posts on the blog, for example, I'm running that task through this series of checklists so that it's done the same way every time in a predictable way that produces a predictable result. And I think that's something that's a habit that any business owner should get into, or even if you're working inside of a business, you got to figure out all those things that you're doing on a regular basis. Once you've proven that a particular process works and it gets you the results you want, you document it, you systemize it, you create the checklist, because now you could delegate that to somebody else and know that it's done properly. But you can't really delegate something that you haven't figured out how to do yet, unless you're paying them because they already know how to do it. And then they're the ones who are putting together the systems and processes for you. But there should be, documented steps for all of the different tasks that make up your schedule. And you should be regularly revisiting your to-do list and asking yourself, what can I take off of my to-do list and give to somebody else so that I can focus on something that has more value to my company or to my business? And so, yeah, once you've move past the trial and error phase for any specific task or process, you figured out what works, document it, systemize it, and either keep doing it yourself, but recognize that you have to follow that process every time, or give it to somebody else and make it their responsibility to do it.
That is excellent. And I think you took the words right out of my mouth. That's what I tell everybody to do with everything they do, no matter how big or how small the task is. If this has to get done more than once in the lifetime of your business, you need to perfect it, you need to document it, and then you need to automate it or delegate it. I think a lot of times business owners feel, well, I can just do this, it's easy, I can do it off the top of my head, I can do it in my sleep. But you could pay somebody $10 to $15 an hour to do that, and your time as an owner should be worth several $100s an hour. How do you maintain that? Because obviously you're in an entrepreneurial space, and you're leading the content team. So how do you make that determination of, should I do this or should I delegate it? Because I think a lot of people just, especially business owners, they just think I'll just do everything until they get burned out, and then they don't want to do anything.
Yeah. No, that's a really good question. So let's say you're starting a business, and any entrepreneur that's just getting started will always tell you that they're wearing many hats in the beginning. They're doing a little bit of everything. They do a little bit of the accounting, a little bit of marketing, a little bit of sales, a little bit of product, whatever it is. So they're spread across many different areas. And the goal of any entrepreneur, if you really want to have a business that can run without you, is you got to work your way up to CEO. And so that when you get there, you're only doing the things that a CEO should be doing. So that means for you to get there, for you to climb your own ladder, you have to give all of those different hats to other people. And so along the way, as regularly as you can, every week, every month, every quarter, whatever it is, you should be looking at your to-do list and separating the things on that list that you're not good at, you don't like doing, it's not your area of expertise, you can now afford to pay somebody else to do it. That's when you give it to somebody else. And you should be constantly trying to do that. Try to give the things on your plate to somebody else, so that you're narrowing down the things that you do regularly to the things that are your core competencies, your strengths, your areas of expertise. They really are the things that only you can or should be doing, and that they have a lot of value to your business. So you do want to try to assign an actual dollar value to a task itself. Like, let's say graphic design, for example. Let's say you've been a graphic designer for years. You now want to start your own graphic design agency, but you've got this habit of doing the design work yourself because that's what you're good at. That's what you've been doing. But if for you to become the CEO of a graphic design agency, you're not supposed to be the one doing the actual graphic design work every day. You're the one that's supposed to be getting clients, handing projects to people on your team, creating the systems and processes, figuring out how you're going to grow, all that kind of stuff. That's what you should be focused on. So you need to figure out what's the actual dollar value of graphic design as a task. Is it like $20 an hour? Is it $30 an hour? Is it $50 an hour? And is that what a CEO earns? And if the answer is no, then you need to pay somebody else to do the graphic design, so that frees you up to do the things that the CEO should be doing, which is worth a lot more to your business.
Well said, and I think that's a really good analogy of just you need to work your way up to CEO. Never really heard it put that way, but I think that is definitely the key. And a lot of people get hung up thinking, well, nobody can do it as well as I can. But you just sit on in systems and processes. When you document something and it's systematized and you have the checklist, there's no way that it can get done any other way but the way that you would do it anyway. And you can pay somebody $20-$30 an hour while you go focus on things that are worth several $100s an hour and actually grow your business. And assigning those dollar values, I think, is a really good exercise for people to then really understand going back to the landscaper. Yeah, you could go cut the grass, but you could probably pay somebody $12 an hour so you can go get another account or several $100s an hour that you then pay someone $12 an hour to do.
Exactly.
So one last thing that you hit on that I love is Slack. I mean, I had a service-based business before where I had people all over the place within my local area doing the work, and Slack was like, it was one of those things I didn't realize I needed it or wanted it until I had it, and then I didn't know how I could live without it. So I recommend that to everybody, but give somebody, insight into why they should use Slack and, get rid of email, get rid of text message, because it's such a powerful, and it's free. I mean, unless you're using like an enterprise level thing, it's free and it does so many cool things. How do you guys use it most?
So we've got basically inside of Slack, what I really like about it is you can create different groups. So let's say inside of one company, you've got different departments. So you can set up a group in Slack for each department. You can set up a group for the entire company itself. You can set up a group for the really important announcements that everyone should see. And maybe a group for, the fun stuff that's just messing around. Oh, here's a funny image or whatever. But you're separating the context or the purpose of certain types of conversations into these different groups. And the big thing is you're skipping the inbox. I think that email, if it's not managed properly, becomes a huge productivity killer. I've got several different email accounts. I'm on a bunch of different newsletters, and I'm certainly not. I'm guilty of being inefficient at times with my email. But so, what works for me is in my inbox, I really only want stuff that's really important. Emails from clients, from people I'm scheduled to interview, from writers for the blog, like things that actually do belong in email. And then things that where I'm having an ongoing conversation with different departments or different team members, I want to skip email entirely. And so Slack is really good for that. So I think it's just important to have, it doesn't have to be Slack, but some sort of tool where you're separating internal communication from your inbox. And to make sure you've got, everybody knows that what you use that tool for, what you use email for, and that way everyone can be as productive as possible. And if they're trying to protect their own time and protect their own productivity, they know where not to look. Like they know to avoid their inbox, or they know to avoid Slack for, a couple of hours each day, so they can really buckle down and get some work.
That's great. And yeah, I think, the key is really just managing that communication, no matter how you put together your team, because there's so many distractions. And, if you can get an extra hour out of everybody on your team, multiply that by 5 days, multiply that by 52 weeks. I mean, that's tens of thousands of dollars to your bottom line that, if they get on some silly email chain and people reply all and they forgot to BCC somebody and then they CC'd somebody else, it's, you can just send one message in Slack, everybody sees it and they can take it and run with it. So
exactly.
We will definitely link that up in our show notes, slack.com. Asana is another great tool that we'll link up on our show notes as well. With that being said, we've really hit on a lot of awesome things, but now what are the future plans for you, for Thinkific, for Lifestyle Business Magazine, and everything that you got going on?
So with Thinkific, we're in terms of content, we're really scaling up content. So I've been creating a lot of it myself for the past year, but we're now, inviting a lot more contributors to write for us. And we're also sending a lot of our content, to repurposing interviews that we've done or really long articles that we've done into more concise articles that we then send to other sites. So we're not just putting stuff on our site anymore. That's been working out well. We'll keep doing that, but we want to get our message out there on other platforms and other publications as well. So we'll definitely be hiring more writers, covering a lot more topics. We really want to become kind of that go-to resource or that go-to authority in the online education space. And in terms of Lifestyle Business Magazine, that started as an app. Before I started working here, I launched an app in the App Store, and I was charging to access these monthly issues of the magazine. I've decided that wasn't really the best approach, trying to sell content without really having an audience to sell it to right away. So I've shifted focuses, stopped putting the app in the App Store, and now I'm opening up the website and the blog to guest contributors as well, and continuing to interview people on the podcast, and really just focused on building a community around that message, around people who are trying to build businesses that they're passionate about and that integrate well with their lifestyle goals. And so you'll see that happening. You'll see just a lot of free content on the site, building a community. And then on the back end of that, there will be some online courses and some premium training if people want to pay to learn certain topics in more detail.
Awesome. Well, excited to see what happens with your businesses with Thinkific. Obviously, you were employee number 12, and now you're up to 60. You're going to be to 90, triple digits soon. So I think that's really inspiring. Just and they're still keeping their entrepreneurial vibe and allowing you to do what you do best. So as you know, and all of our listeners know, all good things do come to an end. We are all about freedom on the show, so we don't want to take up too much more of your time or our listeners. But before we sign off, it is time for our rapid recommendations for all things related to systems, automation, and freedom. So I'm going to give you 6 different topics, one at a time. You're going to give our listeners something to go check out regarding that topic when the show is over. So first things first is your most recommended book. What book would you recommend?
One that ties in nicely to what we've been talking about is Virtual Freedom by Chris Ducker. Anyone who's trying to delegate tasks, outsource tasks, it doesn't always have to be somebody local. There's a lot of technical, repetitive tasks that you can outsource to people in other countries, and Virtual Freedom will show you how to do that, show you how to hire a virtual assistant, even build teams of virtual assistants to help you take care of a lot of the stuff that doesn't require them to physically be there. So Chris Ducker, Virtual Freedom, check it out.
Great choice. I would definitely second that recommendation. What about one quote that you like to live by?
The best way to predict the future is to create it. I forget who said that, but it's always stuck with me.
That is well said. What about one tool other than Slack or Asana that you couldn't live without, if there are other ones?
Other than Slack or Asana, like Skype, Skype or Zoom. People forget that, because of the internet, we can connect with people, have conversations with people all over the world. You can do it for free with Skype or Zoom.
Yes, that is true. And anybody listening, we do record all these in video as well, so you can see our video interviews. We use Zoom. And if you're building that team, kind of hitting on Virtual Freedom, if you're building a team, it doesn't have to be local, because you can use tools like Slack to communicate. You can use, if you want to do phone conversations or video conversations, you can use Skype or Zoom as well. With the power of the internet, most of this stuff is free. So what about one podcast that you listen to regularly?
I'm a big fan of James Altucher, the James Altucher Show. He's a super curious guy. He asks like dozens and dozens and dozens of questions, like rapid fire in his interviews, and he's had some great people on his podcast.
Good choice there. What about one community that you like to hang out in, whether it's online, in your local area? Where do your people hang out?
I'm a part of quite a few different Facebook groups. Thinkific has one as well. If you want to chat with some people who are making online courses, it's called Thinkific Studio. And, even offline as well. I often go to different meetups. Meetup.com is a good place to find people who share an interest, share a common topic they want to learn. If you're in a city, there's probably a few meetups that you could go to.
There are, and I would definitely second that. Meetup.com. If you are a business owner and you want to really just brainstorm, mastermind, collaborate with other business owners, and you are in, it doesn't even have to be a big city. I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina. There's ones in Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill. And it's great because a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we get kind of stuck in our bubble with our head down doing the work. And when you can get out and talk with other people, ideas start to come alive. So lastly, what is one parting piece of advice for any business owner out there who is stuck, burned out, or just trying to get over the hump?
Exercise. Do a little, add some time for you and for your health into your routine, whether it's a 10-minute jog around the block or join, martial arts or something, group activity, whatever you got to do. Get your head out of your business a little bit. Take care of yourself. If you take good care of yourself, you'll be more effective. You'll be thinking more clearly. You'll have more stamina. You'll be a better entrepreneur if you're investing in your health.
There you go. Tyler Basu, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to impart some of your knowledge, wisdom, and enthusiasm to our community. Hopefully this helps everyone out there get one step closer to achieving that ultimate freedom in their business and in life. But before we sign off, where can our listeners go to keep in touch with you and Thinkific?
So my personal site is tylerbasu.com. I'm the only guy with this name, so if you find me on social media or whatever, I'm easy to find. You can reach out to me however you like. And thinkific.com or blog.thinkific.com if you want to see some of the content we've been putting out there. We've got a lot of free resources, free webinars where we show people how to make courses. So either of those sites will be a good place to go.
Perfect. And we will link all those up on our show notes over at our website, paulmaskill.com. Like you said, he is the only one with that name, Tyler Basu, B-A-S-U, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, obviously his website, as well as Thinkific. So thanks again, Tyler, for spending some time with us. Really appreciate you providing all that good value and insight.
This was a lot of fun, Paul. I appreciate you having me, and happy to keep in touch.
Yes, definitely. And with technology, we can all the way across North America. So for everybody else out there, stay tuned for next week's episode as we dive into another fantastic interview with Tim Sanders from Deeper Media. And if you like what you're hearing or you don't like what you're hearing, let us know. A quick little iTunes rate and review would be much appreciated so we know what we're doing and where we need to get better. So if you do love it, feel free to share it with your friends. They will love you for doing so. So don't forget, lastly, you can join our free Facebook group at bizfreedomformula.com. Go there. Technology will reroute you to Facebook, to our group, where you can continue the conversation with like-minded entrepreneurs who are putting the plans in place to work less, make more, and achieving their ultimate freedom while increasing the value of the business. Until next time, keep rocking, trust the process, and talk to you guys soon.